Welcome to the Coffin Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Vampire Kitten, and today we have Bokuwahyde. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's
Awesome.
a nice evening, you know. So
it is
how have you? What are you up to right now? What have you been doing?
everything.
Okay. So
Everything. Let's just say spread too thin is an understatement.
I feel that on a spiritual and mental and physical and everything level.
Every level, yeah.
Every levels I didn't know I had. You know how when you exercise and you're just like, wow, those are muscles I didn't know I had. It's like levels I didn't know I had.
That is life as it exists. Yes.
So
minus the working out part.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you're active, it's fine. It's fine.
You know.
So
I actively eat.
I mean, that's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So what I guess let's start from the beginning. You've become this kind of interesting vampire persona on TikTok, which is super cool. What kind of inspired that? How did you get to that point?
You know, I get asked this question often, and everybody's always so disappointed when I answer this. So sorry for disappointing you in advance. But, you know, it's funny because, like, I didn't grow up watching. I mean, even to this day, I don't watch, like, TV that much. But so I didn't grow up reading books or watching vampire movies or any of that stuff. You know, a lot of my growing up for me, a lot of what I was inspired by was seeing the big hair bands on like MTV and stuff like that. You know, I mean, like me and my dad listened to a lot of music together. So naturally I was always drawn to music. At some point around high school, I started getting really into Japanese bands. And a lot of these Japanese bands, which I actually kind of thought this is where you were going when you said VK, then I put it together. But there's a genre of music, I don't know if you're familiar, called VK, Visual K.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Japan, and a lot of their imagery was very porcelain doll, like French Victorian, vampire. I think a lot of where my influence came from really was the VK bands in and of itself, ex-Japan, Versailles, a lot of these older 80s, 90s bands. I guess I kind of just married that with like the 80s glam and the whole alternative style. Like, I don't consider myself goth, but I guess technically I would be, or alt, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so it never came from, you know, people are like, well, did you ever see, you know, Bram Stoker's Dracula? Nope, never seen it. You know, did you ever see this? Did you ever see that? Nope, never seen it. Like, I don't know. It all just came from like, you know, just loosely influenced off of, you know, 80s hair metal, Japanese VK bands, and just whatever else I just decided to do.
Have you caught up on your vampire media? No, not interested.
No. I mean, it's not. I'm just not a movie TV watcher.
Right.
Like, in my mind, I've like always been the kind of person that, like, if I got time to watch TV, I've got time to work. I've got time to chase a dream, chase a goal, and do something more productive. Now, that's not saying anything bad on people who spend their time watching TV. It's just not for me. Like, I get very bored. I get very antsy. You know, people are always like, what's your favorite movie? I'm like, I've got 3 movies I've ever watched. You know what I mean? Not really, but like, you know, I don't watch a whole lot of movies and TV.
That's understandable. Music's where it's at, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I watched all of the Underworld movies. I loved those. But I mean, you know, Kate Beckinsale, let's be real, you know? So.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. So how did you get into music? What inspired you to play guitar, and how long have you been playing?
So like I said, I grew up, you know, listening to a lot of music with my dad. I mean, that was a very important thing for us. I remember being very, very young and just blasting Van Halen or Dokken or Rat, you know, in the truck. And it was just a very important, I guess, like an important memory for me, you know, sharing that with my dad. And, you know, they always tell the story, and I honestly don't even remember this that well, but 8th grade, I was not that great in school. Like, school was not my thing. And for some reason, I don't remember why, but I asked them for a guitar, and they said, yeah, we'll get you a guitar if you turn your grades around. You know, if you do better in school this year, we'll get you a guitar. to which I finished that year with like 7 awards, including like principal's award and honor. I apparently I wanted a guitar. I just think it's one of those things that like I'm kind of a believer that everything happens for a reason. And I don't know why or what drove me to want to do that. I guess just being influenced by these bands from the 80s and stuff. Maybe I just wanted to be cool.
I mean, they are pretty cool.
What's that?
I said they are pretty cool. Who's your favorite hair band?
Oh, God. That's such a loaded question.
It really is. Okay, top 3. I always do that. Top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on a lot of Van Halen, a lot of Dokken, a lot of Rat. You know, I mean, I'd say those are probably the top 3 for me.
It's pretty good. It's a good list. It's a solid list.
Solid bands. Mm-hmm.
So you got your guitar and you just practiced, or did you like learn from someone else, or did you just self-taught?
No, I would say self-taught is probably the most accurate thing to say. I mean, you know, my buddies and I, there was a couple friends of mine who had guitars that got guitars at the same time, more or less, and we all kind of like jammed together, if you will, but none of us were really any better than the other. So, I mean, we just sat in our rooms looking up tabs and, you know, learning how to play certain songs or, you know, writing original music that we thought was good. So yeah, I mean, I've been self-taught forever. I've never taken like any kind of formal lessons or anything, which is why I'm only as good as I am.
Well, I mean, pretty good.
Oh, well, thanks.
What was your first band? And then I know your current project is No Silence, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. So
when was my first band?
First band.
Oh,
not including the one that you guys were just like hanging out.
1842.
Perfect.
No.
It was a great year.
Man, probably 2005, 2006. Okay. So probably just like 2 years after I got a guitar, we had our first band. It was a high school band. I mean, we played every week. We played, you know, little things around town. Did that for probably about 2 or 3 years.
That's cool. All right.
So let me see. Let me think about that. I graduated in 2007, and I think we did that until about 2009. So yeah, like 3-4 years maybe.
Nice. Well, then how did you get involved with No Silence?
So No Silence, there's the drummer Tristan and the guitar player Brandon. The 3 of us were in a previous band back in 2016, 2017 together. That band fell apart. I joined another band. I've been in a lot of bands. I joined another band, and then I did both those bands for a while. Then, like I said, that band fell apart. And then I joined No Silence in 2020. I think it was like right as all that COVID stuff started happening. So we weren't very active right off the bat. You know, we did some like videos and stuff like that from home and whatever, but obviously there was no shows, you know what I mean? Right. So I guess it wasn't until like 2021, like mid 2021, when we actually got out and started playing.
Okay. That's cool. So, yeah. I mean, you guys kind of practiced a little what did you do during COVID? I always ask this question.
What did I do during COVID?
I'm always interested because some people changed their lives around during COVID.
It did. I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, but it's unfortunate, obviously, but COVID was actually one of the best times for me. It really gave me, you know, a boost for everything that I'm doing now. So it was like a blessing in disguise. Obviously under you know, fortunate circumstances, but during COVID, so I'm a photographer and a videographer. So I was doing a lot of weddings, a lot of family photos, a lot of this and that. And that's how I fed myself. That was money. Right. Obviously COVID happened, you know, we couldn't go out and shoot like that anymore. I mean, people were losing their licenses for going out and shooting, you know, and trying to make a living. And I was like, damn, dude, like, what am I going to do? You know, I can't go out and do this. And I didn't want to sit on unemployment. That shit just bored me. I didn't want, right. You know what I mean? Like, it was just not my thing. So my friend was like, why don't you get on TikTok and start doing like live streams? And I mean, long story short, that's what I did. I got on TikTok, started doing the live stream every single night. Every night for like 2.5 years, I live streamed on TikTok. And that's how I developed the majority of, you know, the beginning of my following and what I'm doing now.
Right. So moving on from that, you started Baby Bats with Patreon, and Patreon's been amazing for you.
Yes.
And I would love to hear like a little bit about what you offer with your Patreon and how that all sort of got started, because it's now you're kind of like you've got your behind the scenes and everything, and a huge community of followers. Like your community is also super positive that I've noticed, and I love them.
Yeah, I mean, that's been something that's been very important to me. When we started this, if I backtrack here a little bit, when I started doing the live streaming, I started noticing that I had the same people coming in every single night for weeks, for months. I mean, every time I stream, those same people were there. And I started noticing that these people were building relationships and friendships with each other in that live stream. And they said, oh yeah, we only talk when we're in here. And I was like, well, how can we develop a way where all of these people who are positively supporting each other and building friendships can have something outside of just when I go live? Because let's be real, I'm not going to go live every single day for the rest of my life for you guys to talk. You know what I mean? Like, as much as that would be great, I need to develop something else. So it was brought to my attention to do Discord, which here we are 3 years later, and I still barely know how to use, as we figured out before we got started with this.
We're fine. We got it.
But so we started this Discord, and I was like, oh yeah, everybody come in, everybody come be part of this Discord, and let's create this big community and this big family, and blah 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 blah. And then when anything's free, you start having problems because you got trolls, you got people who just want to come in and create problems for you. So we cut that, and we just said, hey, we're going to open up a Patreon, or I think we might have already had Patreon, but I was like, I'm going to make this a part of our Patreon. So now we're going to eliminate having the problems, and we're going to just turn this into a positive, loving, supportive community full of people who want to do better for themselves and want to help other people do better. And that's essentially kind of how the Baby Bats started. I think I was live streaming and somebody called me Daddy Bat or something like that. And they said, oh, we're all your baby bats now. And that's kind of where that all took place. And again, like I said, 3 years later, we're still doing it.
Right. That's super cool. So what do you offer on your Patreon?
Everything. I mean, it is, I honestly don't know any Patreon creators that put as much on their Patreon as I do. And sometimes I feel like I'm probably doing too much, but I mean, we've got everything from our Discord to podcast episodes, like extended episodes. We've got custom vampire fangs that are actually created, handcrafted, and to fit each individual's mouth. And they're the Bokuwahyde style of fangs, so they're like, you can't get them anywhere. We've got Patreon only merch. We've got, I can't even remember everything. I just got certified as a life coach, so I put some stuff in there for people who are trying to like learn how to further their career, their life, whatever. I've got some stuff in there for that.
I would love to talk about that at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then our top tier, we've even got what we call the Baby Bat experience, or the meet and greet experience, where I actually fly out to wherever said person lives, and we spend a whole day together, like going out and doing, we've gone to aquariums, we've gone to arcades, we've gone bowling. We've done all kinds of things. For me, everything that I do is not just about being a content creator and making a living doing it, but it's about how many people can I give an experience that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have. And depending on how much time and effort I have to put into that, it's kind of how you develop what tier level that's going to be on or whatever. But yeah, it's just really about trying to create as much of an experience for every individual as possible.
That's awesome. So yeah, you mentioned your life coach thing. I did see that the other day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are you planning on doing with that? I'm just curious.
Me too. It's one of those things where like so many people have come to me and, maybe a lot of people hear stuff like this, but so many people have come to me and they've said, you don't understand how much what you do has changed my life, or it's inspired me to do this, or, it's whatever, all these things. And people were saying like, what you do has helped me do X, Y, and Z. You should become a life coach. And I was like, well, I don't know about all that. Like, I'm not, that good with that kind of stuff. I'm just being genuine with people. But more or less, I looked into it, saw what it took to become a life coach. And I was like, I'm not going to push this. I'm not going to say I'm a life coach, even though you're not required to be licensed or have any kind of school to do that. I was like, I'm not going to do that until I actually have credentials to say, I went to school, I'm certified in this, I know what the hell I'm talking about. And that's what I decided to do, is because so many people were coming to me like for advice. And I'll be the first person to tell you, like, I'm not one to give you advice. Like, I'll give you my opinion on something, but I'm not going to like tell you this is what you should do, which I found out isn't what life coaching is anyways, So yeah, it worked out. And what do I plan on doing with that? I'm still not 100% sure. I've gone through my Patreon and I've scheduled out 2 years worth of life coaching material for my Patreon members. So every month they have a 30-day task, if you will, cool, with a what to do and how it's going to benefit you moving forward. So the idea is that they're going to start getting, into habits of creating, smart moves for themselves, stuff that just becomes habitual, to improve whatever situation. As other than that, the only other thing I do have on there is a one-on-one 1 hour session where I actually sit down and help people break down, what it is they're trying to achieve and kind of how to go about doing that.
That's awesome.
That's it so far.
So I've noticed on a lot of your social media that you are super positive. You're like everybody's like vampy cheerleader, right? I know that's kind of a weird way of putting it, but like I've noticed that in your videos, you're like, you can do it. You are awesome. You just have the drive. You can make things happen for yourself. And I love that because there's not a lot of creators who have that sort of vibe. And I feel like that's a huge part of why people love you so much, is because you're their cheerleader too. They're not just cheering you on, but you're in return going, I want things for you to happen for you as well. So the whole life coach thing, it all comes full circle. And I think that's really awesome.
Well, thank you, first of all. And second, I do feel, like I said earlier, I feel like everything happens for a reason. I don't feel like I'm where I'm at or doing certain things that I do on accident. I mean, there was a reason I got into music. There was a reason one of my ex-girlfriends asked me to pick up a camera and take photos. There was you know what I mean? There's a reason I went to cosmetology school. Everything that I do, I feel like happened for a reason. And I don't know maybe what that reason is yet, but when it comes down to these people who, you're saying that I'm like a cheerleader for them as well. One thing that I feel like a lot of content creators don't realize is without these people, you have nothing. You have no platform. I don't care if you're an artist, if you're a musician, whatever you are. I mean, take a musician, for example. If you don't have the people coming out and buying your music or showing up to your shows, you've got nothing. And all of these people who are so egotistical and think that they're better than everybody because they've got 100,000 eyes on them, you're not. You're nothing without those people. And the same goes for me. I am nothing without the people who choose to support what I do. So in my mind, it is my responsibility to give back to each and every person to the best of my ability. Whether that be through content, whether that be through Patreon stuff, whether that be through just like cheering people on and giving them the best, you know what I mean? Like, that's my responsibility as a content creator. So
I feel the same
I
way.
do believe in everybody. I think if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know what I mean?
Right. So for Patreon, I know you're like, oh, I have so many benefits. Let's talk about the absolute insane thing you've got coming up. You want to get your Patreon members involved with your travel.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I know.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Are you nervous?
No.
Okay. How is this possible? How are you making this happen?
So, how am I making this happen?
That's probably also a loaded question.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I've always wanted to travel. Like, travel is something that I've never been able to do. Right. I'm about to turn 35 and I've barely driven outside of the country for like 3 hours. So, Japan's been my biggest dream for as long as I can remember. And I finally said, let's put this together. Let's do this. I partnered up with a friend of mine who kind of has a travel agency, like a freelance travel agency. And he was like, why don't you do this where you put together an event? You go to Austin, Texas, you take out your baby bats, for X amount of price or whatever. And then you guys go out and you spend the weekend out there and you watch the thousands upon thousands of bats fly out from under the Bat Bridge in Austin, and you create this experience. And I was like, damn, that's a hell of a good idea.
Cool. That's super
like,
cool.
I didn't know that was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So, again, on top of all of these things that the Patreon offers, I want to offer experience most of all, because a lot of these things people would never be able to do. So when you get to a point where you can turn around and take some of what's coming into you, which most people are on a $5 tier, and after taxes and, everybody takes their cuts of it, you're talking a couple bucks maybe. But if you can get enough people to support and be part of what you're doing, and you can take some of that profit and turn around and say, hey, I want to give an experience to somebody. We want to go to Japan, or we want to go to wherever, Australia, whatever. And I can literally take some of that profit and turn around and give somebody an opportunity that they may never, ever, ever in their life have. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it might cost you $5 a month. You might be there for 2 years and pay $120. And that's still a lot less than coming out of pocket $5,000 to go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, like I said, it's just about trying to find a way to create as many experiences for people, so that way they, like those people that went to Austin that weekend, 2 of them are coming to Japan with me. Like, they obviously didn't have a bad time.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it obviously was a good time. So that's something that for the rest of their lives, they're going to be able to say, hey, I went and did this with this group of people, and I met so-and-so, and I'm doing it again.
That's cool. That's brilliant. So what, can you give me a little bit of an idea of what you guys are doing in Japan, or is that like under wraps?
Oh, no, that's totally fine. So for the 10 days that I'm going to be there with the Patreon community, 10 days, this isn't just like a weekend, we're going out for 10 days.
That's a while.
Yeah, we're going to be traveling from Tokyo to Hakone to Kyoto. And I mean, we've got everything from private geisha dinners to, purely guided tours, with an English speaking, Japanese guide. We're going to like temples. We're going to go, there's a lot of stuff we're doing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and again, like I said, I think every trip that we do, what I would like to do, especially if it's international, is try to set up a guided tour, because I've never been there. So I want to make sure that everybody that's coming is getting the, it's going to be obviously the touristy kind of stuff, but get the best experience that we can. And then, and if we want to go back later and do less touristy stuff at another point, we can do that,
Right. Have you thought about doing other trips?
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe like Romania to Dracula's castle, or, like
it's funny
Salem,
that you say that.
Or, well, that's like the motherland. Come on.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that, because I actually just had basically a meeting with the couple that owns Dracula's father's castle where he lived. So I'm going to be possibly going out there to create content. But yeah, we've talked, that's Slovakia. So we've talked about that. Right. And then we've talked about, was it Brand Castle?
I can't remember.
In Romania, Transylvania, whatever.
Transylvania.
We've definitely talked about all that kind of stuff. Well, and those people have connections to that castle as well. The downside to that particular Dracula's castle, from my understanding, is that it's a museum. It's not really you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, that's still cool. That's super cool.
I mean, and we're still going to go. We're still going to do it. But you're not going to get this, stay there experience like you're going to get with this other place that we're going to, which that's another conversation in itself. But I've got some things coming up. I will be going out there to Slovakia to film in this castle. And we are going to be opening up trips to go to this particular castle in Slovakia as well. I can't really say too much more on that yet. But information will be coming out on that as soon as I can do that.
What about a vampire cruise?
Not
into it. Yeah, I've heard cruises are terrible.
I drive over a bridge and I'm shaking, so I'm good.
Oh, not a water guy. Got it. Okay.
Not a water guy.
That's all right. It's not everybody is. It's okay.
Yeah, not for me.
So, how would a baby bat be eligible for this trip?
So it's very simple. And I've been racking my brain, and I'm actually going to give you some new information here that I haven't even released yet. But realistically, the only thing that anybody has to do to be eligible is just be on the Patreon. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, I mean, you're saying 5,000 people, that's a lot of people to get a chance to do this. It's a lot better than not doing it at all. I mean, that's the best I can say. Like, if you're not there, you're not going to win. So, realistically, all somebody has to do is be part of that Patreon. The more patrons we have, the more trips we can put together. The more trips we put together, the more chances people have. Like, if it's up to me, every single person on my Patreon is going to get an opportunity to go. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. I mean, I know that's a little unrealistic, but I'm going to try to do my best to do something to where somebody wins always, and we kind of decided today that instead of just waiting for 5,000, I'm going to open up one for 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and then 5,000. And then once we're at 5,000, every trip that we put together, as long as we stay over 5,000, I'll be picking somebody every time. Cool. So like 2,000, I'm thinking we're going to put together like a trip to Disneyland. Like if you guys want to come, like 10, 15 people come out, we can spend the weekend at Disneyland. One of you guys is going to get picked for free just for being on the Patreon. Right. Spend $5 a month. You're getting an opportunity on top of podcasts, on top of everything else you're getting for $5. You're getting an opportunity to go somewhere for free.
Well, if you think about it realistically on the scope of the lotto versus what you're doing, 5,000 people is not a big pool.
And that's kind of another point that we have made. I'm like, it's kind of, your chances are definitely better than playing the lottery. You know what I mean? So it's definitely not as much money, but I mean, like, there's no mega millions here, but I think an experience like that would be worth just as much,
Right. That's cool. So I noticed that you're going to be kind of going into a little bit more cinematography, filmmaking, elevated filmmaking. What is the plan with that?
Elevated filmmaking. I like that.
That's my notes.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. I mean, that's what I do. That's why I put so much time and effort into like lighting. I was like, how's my lighting look? Yeah. This stuff to me is just what I do for my passion. And really everything that I do, from content creating and the Patreon and stuff like that, everything that I do has been a slow build of how can I turn my passions into a living situation for myself and then share that with other people who care. So as time goes on, as I develop a bigger brand and business and I'm able to invest in more of this, equipment and stuff that it takes, I'm further building the quality of my product as well. There's so much I want to do with photography and videography. I mean, I really, really, really do. But it's a very expensive hobby. Right. So, as we get into this stuff, I'm starting to slowly build up a better, visual and audio experience for people as well. It's all about quality to me. And I know that doesn't matter to most people. You'll have a video that's shot on a cell phone with 20 million views, right. And then you have like a really high end quality video that's got 2 views. But for me, it's like, I feel like people who support what I do deserve the absolute best that I can give them. And again, it comes down on me to invest properly and to research and do my homework on being able to provide that back to the people who support what I do.
Well, you're building a business and you want your business to grow, and you have to invest in yourself and your product. Like at the end of the day, a lot of people don't think about that, I think. And like even just YouTubers, that's a business. Especially if you're putting the time and effort into the lighting and sets and whatever else. So do you have like a dream project? Like
what what? I'm sorry.
If you fully put together your kit, your video equipment, more lighting, so on and so forth, what is your dream project?
Honestly, I would tell you that it would be exactly what I'm doing right now. Right. Maybe a little bit more traveling, maybe some sort of family style vlog one day when I have a family, but to get up every day when I want to, play music, create content, podcast, video, photo, whatever, doing exactly what I'm doing right now on a scale that's so large that I don't have to worry about like, oh, how many patrons did we lose today? You know, we got to gain this many. You know, I got to feed myself still. To be able to do exactly what I'm doing right now and not have to worry about the sales side of it, because what I'm doing is organically growing itself well enough, I would say is my dream project. So in a sense, I'm already there.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
I love it. I love what I do. And I love the people that are a part of what I do. I mean, I'm in 2 bands. Music's been a big thing for me. You know, I partnered with a makeup company because I'm a cosmetologist. I don't know if you know that as well, but
I actually bought your palette.
I'm sorry?
I bought your palette. I love your palette. I think it's really great. I love Curse Cosmetics, and then when you had partnered with them, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. The black in that palette, chef's kiss. Killer. Oh, it's a good black.
That's hard to find.
Yeah, it is. I was like, oh, this is my favorite black ever. I'm going to have to get like 4 more of these palettes. Or good. You just need to have them release just the pot of that black. Yeah, that would be amazing. So why did you go to cosmetology school? I guess I feel like you don't really talk a whole lot about that.
I don't. So we're talking 2015.
Prior to COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, 2015.
Like well before all of this happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Man, actually, I want to even say before that, like 2012, 2013, I think, somewhere around there, I dated a girl whose family owned a cosmetology school.
Oh.
And I kind of started thinking to myself, I was like, you know what, I could do that. Like, it'd be cool to learn. Again, I was really inspired by the 80s stuff, the big hair and all that stuff. So I was like, it'd be really cool to learn how to cut hair and do all this stuff and do my own hair and not have to keep going to somebody who keeps butchering my hair and not doing what I want them to do.
Right.
So it was just an idea that I had in the back of my head. 3-4 years later, 2015 rolls around. We break up. I was going through this crazy heartbreak, and my friend, she came over, she grabbed me. She said, get the fuck in the car. I got in the car. She drove me to the cosmetology place, and she said, you're signing up right now. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're doing this. So that's literally how I started cosmetology school. But yeah. I mean, it was all kind of just like in an effort to learn. I'm a learner. I like to keep educating myself. That's, you know, I'm constantly online trying to learn something new. I get bored. I get so bored with everything. And I wanted to learn something.
That's cool.
I don't do anything with it anymore.
Well, have you thought about doing maybe like a series of YouTube videos or?
Oh, no, I'm just interested? Like, I have zero interest in hair anymore. Yeah, you know, when I was in cosmetology school, I loved it. I had a lot of female clients mostly that came in, and I was a color specialist. That's what I did. I fixed hair, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I got into salons, or I got into a salon, and for 2 years, basically all I had was just men's cuts, just fades all day, just skin fade. So
boring.
So I got real burnt out of just doing hair in general and dealing with it. And then it was one of those things where it was like, I want to, and this is no, you know, slap to hairstylists or anything, but for me, I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm making X amount of dollars to spend 5, 6, 7 hours doing somebody's hair. Like, I can make that same amount of money in a lot shorter of a period of time and do that 2 or 3 times in a day rather than once. You know what I mean? So like, for me, it was just like, is my time versus the amount of money that I'm making really worth what I'm putting myself through to do this? And it just kind of became a big no for me.
No, that's understandable. I think a lot of people need to take a look at their time. I've noticed people don't realize how much their time is actually worth. So the fact that you did that and you're like, this isn't what I want, that's important.
Yeah.
So that's
good. It's definitely a good move for me. I mean, I'm glad that I did it. You know, it's a skill that I'll have the rest of my life. It's something that I'm still licensed. I keep up on my license. You know, if I had to go back to it, I could definitely brush up on my skills and get back out there and do it. I just don't have any passion for it.
Right.
You know.
What was that your plan? Did you have a plan before you started doing all of this, or you just kind of was just?
I was just kind of doing.
Fell into place.
Yeah, I was just kind of doing. Yeah, I mean, because while I went through school, I had this big grand idea of opening up my own salon and how cool that would be, and I wanted to do this '80s hair metal theme, salon off the side. I don't even know, like neon lights and zebra print, and like it would go anywhere. While I was in school, I thought that would be a great idea, but no, I mean, like I said, I was chasing the music dream. I was going down to Hollywood every week, which is a 5-hour drive. I'd go down there and network with some people, hang out. I used to hang out with this band called Steel Panther all the time. And then I would drive home. And every week, that was my routine. Every Monday, drive down there, hang out, leave there at 3 or 4 in the morning, drive home, crash out. And yeah, it was, I did that for like right around 11 months, I think, every Monday. I did not skip a Monday. At that time, I was just chasing the music thing. And then when we broke up, I was like, I got to figure out something. I got to do something. You know what I mean? I got to do something. So she drugged me into that salon, and I was like, or that school, and I guess I'm doing this.
That works. So are you from Northern California?
Central California.
Central. Yeah. Okay. So 5 hours. That makes sense because Northern would be 9.
Yeah. So I'm like, more or less, I'm like an hour and a half east of San Francisco and south of Sacramento.
Right. Okay. Central. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean,
you're from this area?
I am. I'm from SoCal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was thinking about it. I was like, because I had lived in the north, and I was like, it took me 9 hours to get home.
Oh, yeah.
With the traffic, traffic always adds like 4 hours.
Yeah, definitely, especially in LA.
I can't even imagine driving every Monday for 5 hours.
I was so dedicated to that band.
That's a lot.
Like, I loved seeing that band. I would get down there 3-4 hours before the doors even opened, just so I'd be the first one in line. Like, I was just like determined to befriend those guys, and I did, and they're some of the greatest dudes I've ever met.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what are your goals moving into this year? 2024 just started. Do you have goals for the year? Or I guess a lot of people do like that new year, new me kind of thing. Do you have like New Year's resolutions as well?
It's funny that you asked me that, because I was just talking about this. New year, old me, just evolving, Right. I don't really have resolutions. I kind of feel like the 31st of December to the 1st of January was just another day apart from each other. I'm still working and grinding the same I do every day.
Yeah.
The new year didn't change anything for me. It's just moving into another month. So no, I guess my goal is just the same as it's always been. It's just to keep working, keep building this. I have a personal goal for where I'd like to see certain things. When you talk, it's funny because when you talk to me about this and you say, I understand this is a business, a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of people get a little upset about it being a business. They're like, well, blah, 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 blah. It is a business. Like, people want this content, that content, this and that from me. I got to make a living too.
It's not free.
And I still got to eat, Right. So it is a business, and I have my personal financial career goals. And I think right now for me, the goal has been the same on all levels. I want to get our Patreon to a certain place so that way I can give back what I feel like I need to give back to the people who support. And that's going to take a certain number. It's going to take a certain, income. It's going to take a certain freedom from all the other stuff to be able to give that to people. And until something better comes along and presents itself, right now my goal is to get to that 5,000 mark on Patreon.
Right. Where are you? Can I ask where you're at? Where are you at? To your mark, or can I not ask? Not even close.
Oh man, not even close. But it's one of those things. Patreon is so volatile, and it's so difficult to grow. We were up, the highest we've been was like 1332 or something like that, and right now I think we're at like 1232. So it's just like it goes up and then it goes down, and then it goes up a little bit, then it goes down.
We also have to consider something like the economy right now is so it's just in the toilet.
Yes and no. I mean, people are still spending money. People are still buying things. There's Patreon creators out there that have 300,000 patrons, 500,000 patrons, or whatever. You know what I mean? 50,000 patrons, whatever. It's not so much. I don't think it has anything to do with the economy. I think it has more to do with the reach and the people that you're reaching. You know what I mean? Like, we all know right now that our algorithms are not showing our content to everybody that's following us. You know, I mean, I really guarantee out of the nearly 500,000 followers I have on all of my platforms, if every single person on that platform knew what we were doing and what we were offering, I feel like we'd be well over 5,000. I really do. I just think that the problem is right now is that we're not reaching the right people and enough of them. Because I do know content creators that have Patreons that are skyrocketing. They're doing great. The economy has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, they're taken off with no problems.
Algorithm issues is actually, you're probably right. That's probably the biggest thing. Facebook,
absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Nobody allows links through unless you pay for it.
Right.
So it's
one of those things too. For me, it's like, you know, especially at $5, you're like, at the end of the day, if you're broke and you're an alcoholic, you're still going to spend $5 on, or whatever amount of money it is on alcohol. It comes down to value. It comes down to, is this valuable to this person or not? If they even see it, you know what I mean? And that's where we're running into that thing. We've got some amazing people, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody, because I have had multiple people that are like, listen, I can't afford this right now. This happened, that happened. I can't afford $5. And I'm like, dude, I get it. Like, if you get to a better place and you can afford it comfortably, I don't want anybody putting themselves in a financial bind for $5. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that important. I'll figure it out. But we've had most of those people will say that they can't afford it and they leave, and then they come back when they do figure it out. And it's always heartwarming, because I get a lot of the same messages from people who are like, this is important to me. This community, this family that we're building is important to me. And if I have to take $5 away from something like Netflix or something else, this is far more important. And that makes me feel good, because it makes me feel like I am providing value and doing something that's positive for somebody, you know?
That's what I was just about to say. The value that you're providing on your Patreon versus a lot of other Patreons that I've seen is really high. For $5, you are offering so much content. And as you were saying earlier, you think it's probably too much, but honestly, your community is a great community. And the fact that they keep coming back is important, but you do, just outsider looking in at your Patreon without even, like, I've subscribed as well at some point, but looking at your Patreon, you can see that I've never seen any other creators that have had as much value as you do.
Well, thank you. I mean, that means a lot to me to hear, because, you know, I do put my heart and soul into it. And I think that is why it gets a little, like, frustrating and like bums me out when I see that the numbers start tanking, because it's just like, dude, I'm putting everything into this. I mean, I am offering every bit of me and everything I can possibly think of at such a low number, you know what I mean? Just to provide value to people. And again, it's not like people sign up for $5 and I'm getting $5. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm bringing in, you know, a ton of money doing this, but I just want to get to a place where I can turn around and reinvest in the people that are supporting, and reinvest in the quality that I'm giving to these people through the $1.50 that I get from it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, whatever it comes down to. And it just, like I said, those people are so important to me.
So I noticed that you also stream on Twitch. Are you still doing TikTok streaming? Not as much?
No, and that's where we started noticing a downfall of our Patreon, is because most of the people that came in from our Patreon, or to our Patreon, came from live streams, TikTok specifically. But I mean, as you can imagine, I got so burnt out every single night. Hundreds of thousands of new people every single night asking the same 5 questions over.
Wait, can I ask what the same 5 questions are?
The same 5 questions you've asked me tonight? No.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I guess podcast done.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but when you do it every night and you're answering the same questions like every 10 minutes for 8 hours, at some point, I mean, I always was just like, whatever, like, these people are new. They don't know. I'm not upset about it. But at a certain point, you're just like, I really just don't want to do this again, dude. Like, I really don't want to do this. So I came to this crossroad where I was like, I'm not a streamer, dude. I don't want to be a streamer. That's not what I'm trying to do with my life.
Right.
I need to find this balance between work and still enjoying what I do because I'm starting to hate it, and that's where I was like, I've got to break away and take a chance to let my content speak for itself and let my content bring in the patrons, the views, and all this stuff. And man, has it been a challenge?
So you stream on Twitch, even though you're not a streamer.
I do stream on Twitch from time to time.
That's fun. That's not
Twitch.
Like,
Twitch is a little bit more fun. Twitch is a little bit more fun because it's a little bit more engaging. You got the sound bits and you got your subs and all that stuff. And people that watch the stream have more fun with it because it's not just the interview process every 2 seconds.
Right.
People are engaged. You got to understand. A lot of these people have been here since I started this stuff, so they don't need to understand. Like they don't. Why do you dress like a vampire? I already know this. I've been here for 3 years. Like, right. I don't want to hear this again. With Twitch, it's less of that. These people are more engaged. They're part of it. So I do that as kind of like a thing for those viewers. It's still not something that I like. I'm like, I can't wait to get home and stream. But,
so you game? Do you have some favorite games, or are we just like?
Well, play I am a Final Fantasy nerd. I'm just going to put that out there.
Oh, I'm going to put that out there.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is about to come out while I'm in Japan, and I'm coming home and picking up my order because I've already pre-ordered it. No, but when it comes to Twitch, like a lot of the games that I play on there are typically like horror games because people love to jump scare the shit out of me. What else have we played on there? What's that?
I said they jump scares. They eat that up.
Oh, they do. They do. Especially when I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else we've played on there. I mean, we've done like mostly horror games, I guess. Resident Evil, stuff like that.
Those are good. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah.
Other than Final Fantasy, do you have a favorite? Do you have favorites? Other series that you love? I'm a big gamer. That's why I gotta know. I'm asking the gaming questions.
Okay. So Final Fantasy is definitely number one. Ghost of Tsushima was a very incredible game.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever played that.
I don't think so. I've never even heard of that. What is that?
Oh my god.
Tell me about it.
So it's like an open world ninja game. Like this. Check it out. It's a great game. Okay. If you're into like open world stuff, because that's what I like. I like open world. I always say kind of like imagine like Skyrim meets like a ninja game. Like you just got this big map you get to explore, and like it's a really, really beautiful game. What do you game on? Computer?
Yeah, I'm on PC. I was an Xbox fangirl for a long time, and then I got on a PC, and now I play everything. I love retro. I actually have a huge retro game collection where I have a ton of carts, and I go to retro cons and collectible places and pick up carts all the time. It's like my thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say check that out. It's not retro, but it's
it's cool.
I'm a sucker for graphics. So
I love graphics, but
yeah, like I can't play like Borderlands because I'm just like, ew, this is gross looking.
Ew.
You know what I mean?
Because the art style is so weird.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I love like beautiful graphics, and Ghost of Tsushima is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Yeah. It always surprised me when a guest comes on the show and there's a game I haven't heard of. That is like their absolute favorite. I love that.
Oh man, I'm telling you, you're missing out.
All right, I'll check it out. So just recently I saw on your YouTube that you went and started a new like chess piece. How's that going? Like a tattoo chess tattoo. It sucks.
The worst thing I've ever gone through.
Oh no.
Yeah, like man. I mean, obviously the throat and the neck were not fun, but I didn't realize how easy that was going to be in comparison to my chest.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. Going through, like, okay, let's put it this way. Like, I'm a total, can I say I'm a pussy on here?
Yeah.
I don't know what I can say.
We are a mature rated podcast. You are totally fine.
Dude, I am a weenie. Let's go with that. I don't have a crazy high pain tolerance. All of my tattoo artists tell me I sit great. I'm like, you are a terrible liar, dude. Like, there's no way that I'm sitting great. With my neck and my throat, like I sat on my throat on live stream. I live streamed this like an idiot.
That's horrifying.
I sat there.
That is horrifying. I don't think I could do that.
I sat there for 6.5 hours letting him blast my throat, and it was pretty bad. It sucked. The sides of my neck, for some reason, were even worse. I don't know why, but the sides of my neck, I was just like really struggling with. When he got to my chest, that was the first time where every time he touched me with the needle, I just automatically was just, oh, hi, kitty. I was just automatically like, I can't. Like, oh, shit. Just pulling back every time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, I think between the chest, my throat, and probably like down in here as it got to my armpit was like.
So are you filling it all in with lace? Is that what it is? It's
yeah.
Lace, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How are you so all the empty spots are going to be lace?
Yeah, all of this, we're still I have to finish all that. All of this, the same thing. It's all going to be lace. It's just like outlined right now. All of this is going to be lace too. We just skipped that for some reason. Yeah, I mean, the whole idea behind the lace was that like, I kind of wanted something that was like, that had the chance to be beautiful, but also torn and destructive. So like a lot of this lace, it's starting to rip all back here as it comes back to my back of my neck and my shoulders. It's going to kind of like tear off. And then I've got like the roses that are coming through the lace. Mm-hmm. So like the whole idea behind it was that I wanted to have it like something pretty that's being destroyed, but still has beauty in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that was kind of the whole concept behind it.
I like that it's also the filler, because not a lot of some people just kind of fill themselves up and don't really consider all of the white space. And I like that you've taken it like a little time to sort of consider the white space a bit, or the blank space. Was that so that your chest was the most painful? Do you have any, like, I got my rib, like my side from my hip all the way up to the top of my ribs, and that was the worst pain of my life. The top of my ribs.
I can see that.
It hurt so bad. It was terrible. It was so bad.
I'm good.
Not all. I mean, tattoos, I feel like once you start getting them, they're meaningful, and then it gets past the point of like, hey, this just looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just like, what can I do that kind of like adds to my persona? But it's not something like roses. It's not like in 10 years I'm gonna be like, fuck, roses are not cool anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
that's a classic.
Like this is a guitar player from a Japanese band. I don't know if you're super familiar with Japanese music at all, but
I know Malice Miser.
Okay.
And
X Japan.
Yeah, vaguely. I listened to a bunch in high school, but I was mostly obsessed with Malice Miser.
Okay, so that was around the same time. Malice Miser and X Japan were about the same time. So this is the guitar player from X Japan. He passed away in 1998, but this is Hyde, who was like the biggest inspiration for me musically. And that's where I started. I was like, I want to put some sort of like lace here to just kind of like...
That all goes together. I understand now. It goes together with the vibe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So once I did this, then I was like, okay, well, how can I make it cohesive and connect with everything?
So Visual K is, I don't think a lot of my listeners actually would know what that is.
Okay.
And I think it's the aesthetic alone is very super goth and has a lot of lace and has a lot of ruffles and frills and also has some, I feel like, cyber elements to it. It's like a little bit of everything, but it's really intense. How would you describe it?
So I don't know if technically they would say that Visual K started in the 80s or the 90s, but it was pioneered by X Japan. They were kind of the founders of that whole VK movement. I think the whole idea behind Visual K, when X Japan kind of started that, their whole idea was psychedelic violence and the crime of visual shock. Like they wanted to like stand apart so much that you knew who they were. And that's kind of where that whole genre, if you will, started, and what the whole meaning of it was. And then it kind of took this like big hair, crazy makeup, you know, kind of inspired by Kiss, I would say. It kind of took that idea and it started to evolve through the years into more of like a what we would call goth. You know, a lot of black, a lot of like you said, ruffles and stuff like that. It really took on kind of this vampire.
It was like
imagery,
Victorian Gothic with like Gothic Lolita mixture.
Exactly, Lolita is a big one for sure, and that's huge in Japan as well. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, and I've always kind of had that same mindset, I guess, with like, I don't need to go get attention, but it's like, I definitely know that like if I go to a show or if I'm walking down the street, like you might not know who I am, but you're gonna be like, oh, I remember that guy. Like I've seen that crazy purple hair, or I've seen, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of where I took a lot of that inspiration. You know, it's because like if you're trying to brand yourself or create a business, you want to make sure that it's memorable. You know, and if you're in a band, it's okay. It's great to have great music. Like that's good, but can you give your audience something a little bit more than just good music? Like what's going to make you stand apart from the next band that's got great music? You know?
Oh, speaking of which, totally random. Did you hear about what happened with Sleep Token? You know how they wear masks and they're completely covered and they have this like illusion of mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows who they are. Well, there was this complete jerk who totally violated their privacy, found all of their birth certificates and released them on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Completely outed him. This happened, I'm surprised you actually haven't seen this. It was huge on TikTok recently. Completely outed them, and they shut down all of their social media for like a week. They went,
really?
Shut down everything. And so everybody was like, well, are they coming back? Like, is this it? Is this the end? Like, did one person ruin this amazing thing for us?
Yeah.
And then they just announced like 2 days ago they're going on tour. So everybody's kind of like speculating of what's going to happen, but it was like, it's one of those things that worries me about being a creator on the internet, because it always goes down to a privacy thing, right? You put so much of yourself out there and you give so much of yourself to other people, and then people take and take and take until they abuse it. And then you're just like, well, I don't want to. There's a couple of things that happens here and that I worry about a lot. I don't want to stop what I'm doing for the people who genuinely actually appreciate what I'm doing.
Sure.
But at the same time, I also want to be safe and keep myself safe. So like, you know, I hide everything, P.O. boxes, and I try to be as safe as possible. But when things like this happen, it's just, I don't know, it just feels like a violation, not just for them, but for other creators who are just like trying to provide something cool to people.
Right.
Like, do you remember when, I don't know, you know Jenna Marbles, right? You know who she is.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And she kind of went, she retired and just doesn't come on the internet anymore. There was a video that Jenna Marbles had put out that a fan had come to their house, like fully came to their house, knocked on the door and wanted to be let in. And it was just like a really weird thing. And like, I think somebody's mom brought them there. But like, stuff like that always kind of worries me. Like,
well, I mean, privacy is privacy. You know, I mean, I think that should be respected, period.
So I always worry like about that. And this Sleep Token thing is just like one of those reminders of like, oh God, like people are terrible. Like people are awful. But can you imagine finding the whole band's birth certificates and just like releasing them into the wild, onto the internet where it's forever?
Like that person definitely needs a hobby.
That's horrible. Yeah,
that
definitely.
Sucks.
I always
that's
say
crazy.
That I'm actually surprised you didn't hear about that.
No, no. I'll be honest. When I started all of this stuff, I was a lot more active on the internet. And I think I just kind of got to the point where I kind of stopped. I really don't get online unless I'm posting something. I'm like usually creating and editing,
Right.
So like I don't scroll Facebook. I don't really scroll Instagram. I don't scroll TikTok. And if I do, it's because I'm looking for something to use for content. But I definitely noticed a disconnect from actually being a content. What's the word I'm trying to look at? Absorber, a user, viewer, versus a creator, where I'm like, the only time I'm really looking at content is if I'm like sitting somewhere absolutely bored out of my skull, which is very rare, or I'm looking for some sort of like inspiration.
Right.
So I miss a lot of things apparently.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing. I mean, I can't imagine. So TikTok, I guess my question here is, since you've now become a content creator and not a user, is there anything that you miss about being an absorber, a viewer? No?
No.
Not at all?
I mean, I definitely don't miss mindlessly scrolling and spending. I mean, I no offense to people that do this, but like, I think you definitely realize how much time you waste.
Yeah. I can agree with
But
that.
also, to those who do it, thank you.
Double-edged sword.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed a change in my content as well, where I used to be very connected with other Twitch streamers, and I was constantly in their chats, and I was constantly involved, and I feel bad because I'm like, I can't support my friends as much as I used to because I'm so busy with creating. I'd say that's the only thing that I miss, is that the connection with other creators that I used to have that I don't have anymore. That was important.
The good thing about that though is your friends understand. You know what I mean?
Well,
and I'm a huge believer and a huge whatever. I'm a huge believer in the fact that if you surround yourself with people that you want to be like, you're going to learn from them and you're going to become like them. And when you do that, it's like the same thing with me. It's, the bigger that my following gets, I have more and more people that are like, well, why don't you follow me? Why don't you watch this? And it's like, if I had to follow and pay attention to every single person that followed and watched my content, friend or not, I'd never have time to get anything done. I would never even be able to see everybody's things. And I think for the most part, people understand that. But when you get to a certain level of trying to create your own thing, I don't think anybody looks at that and they're like, well, you're not doing this in mine anymore. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but your friends are never going to do that. I mean, my closest friends, they have Patreons and we're like, well, I'm not going to go on your Patreon so you can go on mine. Like, and it just becomes zero. Like, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
But we're going to support each other. We're not going to be like, why aren't you doing this for me? I mean, I get what you're saying though, like to have that connection in that network. But I think at that same time, you start developing new connections and new networks that are even a little bit bigger and better for what you're doing than sitting there watching, something that you're just only interacting with rather than becoming productive with, if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does.
And again, a lot of my content is, there's a lot of stupid things that I do, like those transition videos. I don't do them because they're valuable. I do them because they get a lot of views, and that's unfortunately part of the game, and yes. I don't do them because I wake up every day like, hey, how can I rip my clothes off today for a transition video? Like, it's not something that I'm like looking forward to doing.
I absolutely, and I will go on record and say, I hate making thirst traps.
Right.
I hate them. But that's what gets the views. And then I sprinkle in my other content that I actually like. And now that's starting to pick up. You have to do the things you don't want to do sometimes to get to where you want to be.
Preaching to the choir, my friend. Preaching to the choir.
I hate them.
It's very, very true, and that's another frustrating aspect of content creating for me, because I go and I'll post one of these stupid transition videos and it'll get 1-2 million views, and then I'll go post some meaningful, like, hey, I want to change your life and help you do this X, Y, and Z, and I'll get 2,000 views, and I'm just like, Oh my God, dude. Like, it's so frustrating. You know, anytime you put value into something or put actual like thought and care into it, it gets very little engagement.
That's
But you go
just
do some
crazy.
stupid transition video and it's getting 2 million views. You're just like, what the hell am I doing here?
It's the game you gotta play,
It is. It is.
unfortunately, to beat the algorithms of doom.
I don't know that there is any beating the
Yeah,
algorithm.
yeah. I don't think so. I think the algorithms, to be honest with you, I think they're getting worse.
Oh, they are. They are, for
And
sure.
the TikTok shop thing has just been insane. Have you? I don't even know. Like, I've seen the shadow work journal so it'll be like a video, shadow work journal for 3 videos, and then another video. Like, or some TikTok shop thing. It's like some serum or something for like 4 videos, and then I get another video. It's almost not worth it to scroll even to look at stuff on TikTok anymore because it's just so saturated. They're starting to clean it up though. They went through and they actually banned a bunch of stores. I don't know if you knew that. They were selling drop shipping, Alibaba, AliExpress stuff and knockoffs, and they got rid of people that were selling illegal things and all that other stuff.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, people were
I
selling.
mean, I can't tell you how many times I got on TikTok and randomly saw porn.
Yeah, there's a lot of porn on there now.
That blew me away.
It's crazy.
Like, I'd get on there and there was just like, I always see this one girl, this Asian girl that's always breastfeeding her baby. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, I mean, I could see why people are like upset, you know, that there's nudity because you can see her nipples and everything. Like, it's not just like a breastfeeding video.
Right.
But then and I was just like, okay, whatever. That's not like, that didn't bother me. And then all of a sudden you get on there and there's straight up porn. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
whoa, crazy.
Or you see the ones where they're sneaking shots. Have you seen those? Where
What is
it'll
it?
be like they'll sneak shots of body parts into the video. So like you'll be watching a video and there'll be like a mirror in the back and it's just bits. Lots and lots of everything. And you're just like, girl, that's the whole party. Like, you're not
That's the whole party.
That's the whole party. So like those have been really interesting because it'll be like full topless, but you can see it in the back, you know, it's all the way.
No.
Yeah, those ones are very, because they hide it in the video, and that's how they get so many views. And it's kind of hard to report them because you're just like, you can't. Nobody's gonna look at that little tiny little thing, you know.
And but they would if it was me or some, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, like Jesus Christ, I go put something. I put something one day. And I don't remember what it was. It had nothing to do with. I was outside talking about like going on a trip, and I got banned for nudity and sexual content.
Somebody must have reported you.
But I mean, there was nothing. I mean, there was nothing even nude.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it was crazy.
I don't think they have enough.
I will say that I think that my TikTok views, like my TikTok took a huge nosedive. And I'm starting to see the views kind of come up a little bit again. So I don't know if there's something going on with the algorithm, but I hardly, if I'm being honest with you, I don't take TikTok serious anymore.
You can't. I mean, it's just too much junk on there. It was great.
Yeah, it's my biggest following, but my lowest engagement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got like 300,000 followers on there, but I'll get like 1,000 views.
I feel like I'm poking every video with a stick at this point. Like, do something.
Right. No, that's yep, that's how it's been for 3 years. I get it.
Well, you've got, I feel like also COVID. We had a big, like a gold rush of the internet during COVID because
everybody was on.
Yeah, nobody had anything else to do, and now it's like oversaturated. It feels. I mean,
well, I mean, a lot of people talk about like. Go ahead.
A lot of creators are actually retiring too, so
yeah.
That's been an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about like, you know, the economy and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I don't really remember, but I mean, everybody was losing their jobs and during COVID, and people were still paying out the ass for stuff. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that it's deeper than that. You know, I mean, COVID, that whole time period, that stay at home stuff, like everybody was on their phones. Nobody had anything to do. You know, so it was a great time for content creators to get that attention. And I mean, I remember Geez, I don't remember what month it was, but I remember one month getting 20,000 followers and then the next month getting 50,000 followers. And I'm like, I'm going to be famous. You know what I mean? Like, this shit's going off like crazy.
Yeah.
And then it just, you know, then I remember somebody telling me, watch, when you hit about 300,000, it's going to plateau and just die unless you start paying for stuff. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm getting way too many followers for that. Like, I got 56,000 followers this month, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And then sure as shit, as soon as I hit 300, it just started just tanking. And I've been there probably a year.
Yeah. It was lovely talking to you today.
You too.
Where can everyone find you?
Well, the easiest place would probably just go to my website, bokuwahyde.com. You can find all my socials there. I don't really push it or talk about it, but I've got a merch store. You know, we got our Patreon there. You know, one of the things too is I've got a lot of collaborations with, you know, if my Patreon members have a business, you know, we try to incorporate that in certain ways. So, you know, we've got the Cursed Cosmetics, the Hide Your Face palette, as you were just talking about. We've got that, you know, there you go. Look at that. Ooh.
I do love this palette. So good.
I've got this collaboration with Wolf Brand Silver. We do jewelry. So we've done necklaces and rings and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, if you guys want any of that kind of stuff, you can find all that on my website as well.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And I guess you can follow us on YouTube, iTunes, Google, anywhere you syndicate your favorite, or we're syndicated everywhere, anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. I probably am. Spotify's the main one. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are amazing. Thank you for helping me get to this level of episode. I think we're episode 18 now.
Hey, congratulations.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Coffin Lounge. Thank you, everybody. Bye.